In my opinion, these fragrances are absolutely perfect. They're 10 out of 10. It doesn't get much better than this. Keep in mind though, this is just a small selection of what I believe to be masterpiece fragrances, because I do have quite a bit in my collection, and that's gonna vary from person to person, just depending on what you really like. But for me, at least right now, kind of what's currently in rotation and also what's kind of fresh in my mind, these are my selections. But trust me when I say over the years, I have really collected a ton of fragrances that have grown on me so much, that I've worn so much, that do fit this category. But of course, we can't feature them all, and some of these are maybe a little bit surprising to you. You know, no Creed Aventus, no Elysium, no Acqua di Gio Profondo. Those are very obvious. We've got some different ones. We're gonna get things kicked off with a fragrance that's perfect for right now, spring and really summertime. It's not officially summer, I don't think. I think it's June 20th or something, but it definitely is starting to feel like it. And this one works really, really well for this time of year. It is Paul Gaultier Les Beaux Paradise Garden. You know, one of my favorite things about this is the coloration. Green is one of my favorite colors, so it is my favorite color, and this emerald green is absolutely beautiful. Now, you know, this one has that coloration. Les Beaux Les Parfums has like a more of a blue color to it. Flower Edition's kind of a lighter blue. Basically what I'm saying is they're using colorants to make them look like this, you know, otherwise it would just be probably clear or have a slight tinge of something to it. So you could argue that maybe all the colorants isn't the best thing for you, but who cares? This one has a bit of mint. You get some C notes. This one has a little bit of a minty accord off the opening, kind of working its way into this green, slightly watery, citrusy, coconut fig type of scent, basically. So it's drawing from the original and the Les Parfums versions there a little bit, but it ultimately gives it much more of a green smell and also much more of a fresh smell. You know, it still does have some of that tropical nature to it, but it's not quite as sweet as the first two in the line. And honestly, same thing with the Flower Edition. That one is even fresher than Paradise Garden. So they're kind of taking these in more of a fresher direction, which is nice because these are really suitable for warm weather, and that freshness is definitely appreciated. But this one, I mean, it went absolutely crazy when it was first released, and you know, there was a point in time where due to demand, it was sold out everywhere. That's no longer the case. I think you can get this for 95 bucks right now, 120 or 125 ml, which is a really good price and shouldn't have too much of an issue getting this one going forward. But yeah, it was popular right off the rip. And I do see why. It does have that trendy aspect about it. You know, a lot of it's going to be that presentation, the note breakdown, the name, the marketing behind it, but then also just the fact that it is following up to Les Beaux Les Parfums, which was really popular as well. I think this one is fantastic. They did a wonderful job with this stuff. It's a great performer. It's more summer oriented than the first two in the line, at least in my opinion. And it's just a really well done scent that I wouldn't change anything about. All right, let's go from one green bottle to another with Gucci Guilty Elixir. You know, it's pricey. That's the main thing about this one. You're paying up for it. This is a 60 ml bottle, and it's typically around $110, maybe $115. It's a lot of money. You know, if it was 100 ml, that would still be on the upper end of things as far as price, kind of, you know, maybe not so much these days, but 60 ml for that price, that's a tough pill to swallow. However, that is kind of becoming the norm with these elixir fragrances. Maybe we can thank Dior Sauvage Elixir for starting that trend, but I think it was probably inevitable anyway. But that's how most of these are. Smaller bottle, higher price, but highly concentrated. So I don't know if I've met an elixir scent yet that doesn't last a really long time. For the most part, they all are good performing, which is a bonus or a good thing, I guess, given the price that you pay for them. This one's got Orange Blossom, Ambrofix, kind of like, I guess, some sort of amberwood ambroxan derivative or kind of styling, I guess. And then some vanilla. Okay, so kind of a weird combination here. White florals, vanilla. What does this smell like to me? Oh, and some iris as well, or orris root, I think is what they call it. But it smells a lot like Amouage Reflection Man 45 Extrait, okay? Why that one in particular? Well, because of the vanilla and some of the heavier, sweeter notes that are in this that are not really found in Reflection Man Eau de Parfum, but are found in 45 Extrait. So that's kind of the difference there, is that the Extrait version has a bit more depth, a bit more complexity going on, as does this one here. So that's kind of what makes these two, you know, similar. But not just that, also the floral component of them, that white floral smell, classy, refined, sophisticated, and ultimately unique. I mean, yeah, this smells similar to that, but this type of style, this type of DNA is not all that common, you know, especially these days where things are getting sweeter and sweeter. This really isn't all that sweet. A bit of vanilla, a bit of iris, but mostly it's floral, musky, fresh, and that type of way. So that's kind of how I see this one. And obviously Reflection Man 45 is very expensive too. It retails for a touch over $500. Sometimes you get lucky and you can score a bottle for, you know, 300 bucks on discounters. That's still a lot of money. So this one might be a little bit less damage to your pocket, at least as far as just, you know, cost into the scent, right? You know, price per milliliter is a different story, but just talking about the damage done to your wallet for buying it one time, obviously this one is going to be, you know, less money out of pocket, even though your price per milliliter is still very high. Next up, we have Issey Miyake Nuit d'Issey Parfum. They have a few fantastic fragrances in their lineup, most of which though are discontinued. So or Incense, Noir Ombre, just to name a couple really quickly that are fantastic, absolutely wonderful, but have been discontinued for some time now. If you can score a bottle, especially of Noir Ombre, do it. Don't think twice about it. If it comes up in stock for a good price, buy it. It's fantastic. If you don't like it, just sell it again and you can get what you paid for it back out of it, but it's a great scent. This is one that I think can join those, okay? I really do think it has the kind of complexity and also just the blend and everything about it similar to those, as far as just having something that is sought after. You know, I think it really can smell, I think it really would impress a lot of people, because it's not just another cookie cutter freshie, right? This one isn't fresh. This one's got leather, patchouli, vanilla, tonka bean. Smells amazing. Smoky, sweet, leathery. It's rich, it's full bodied. Again, it's not something that you're used to smelling all the time. It's kind of on its own little category here. It really does its own thing, not copying off of anything else. But man, especially that opening, it really kind of brings to light what this one's about. The rich spiciness and that smokiness that this one has, when you first spray it on, it lets you know that you're going to be in for, you know, a lot more to come, because it just gets better from there as it dries down, especially when you're wearing it on. But this one is in stock right now. It has been for a while. You could get a bottle like this, 125 ml. Tester for 50 bucks. I think throw in an extra 20 bucks and you get a full presentation. Now, as far as I'm aware, the testers do come with a cap. At least that's what the picture says. So, you know, I would get the tester. But if you want to spend the extra 20 bucks and have, you know, a guarantee that you get the cap and also just have a regular box, then you could do that. But I would think just get the tester. I would bet money that it does come with the cap as pictured. I believe that these testers usually do. Why Eau de Parfum Intense? Believe it or not, I think it is a 10 out of 10. Why? Because it just improves upon the Eau de Parfum for me. Now, for a lot of people, I do think that the Eau de Parfum is still probably the best choice. Out of everything in the Y lineup, discontinued or not, the Eau de Parfum for a lot of people is going to be the one to get. For me, I have enough sweet apple, fresh fragrances in my collection. And I've said it before, but you know, when I want something fresh, I want it to be fresh. If I want something that's a hybrid or a mixture, I've got stuff for that already, you know? And so Y Eau de Parfum, it is that. It's fresh with the lavender and the amberwood, ambroxan deal going on, but that sweet apple off the top is sweet, and it kind of takes away from that summery type of freshness that I'm often looking for. This one solves that. There is zero sweet apple in here. Instead, it focuses on the aromatic base that the eau de parfum has, you know, that lavender, sage, all of that stuff. It basically takes that and it amps it up. You still get some of that ambroxan, still kind of has that blue fragrance smell, but it just, again, it removes the sweetness, which for me is welcomed. Obviously, from time to time, I'll still throw on Y Eau de Parfum. Still love it, still enjoy it, still think it's a great fragrance. It's an amazing performer, a great compliment getter. I just like what this Eau de Parfum Intense does. All right, this next one is Parfums de Marly Althair. Kind of out of season, but for whatever reason, I don't know, I've been thinking about this one. Even though I don't wear it all the time right now when it's warm outside, oftentimes when I'm down here planning videos or whatever, still grab it and just give it a smell. You know, I mean, it's really, really, really addicting, you know, is kind of how I would look at it. It's one that I wouldn't say is overly complex, you know, I wouldn't say that, but there's something about it that kind of just draws you in, you know. I don't know what it is exactly. It's just that I would say the texture that this one has is a little bit different. It's very sweet, but also kind of powdery, kind of dusty at the same time. And the way that those kind of textures mix together makes this one appealing to me. This one's got vanilla, praline, cinnamon, cardamom, warm, spicy, very sweet, gourmand. So truth be told, this one is more like the new style of men's fragrance that we're used to. It doesn't have chestnut listed, but I kind of pick up on it, you know, that chestnut gourmand, kind of not necessarily coffee, but just unique smell that chestnut has and that you see in things like Replica by the Fireplace and a lot of the Stronger With You fragrances. You know, I get a little hint of that in here. Maybe it's just me, maybe not, but kind of get some of that. And so that mixed obviously with the vanilla and the praline and everything about it, cinnamon, gives it this warm, sweet, edible, almost dessert type of smell. Obviously, you know, the way I've described it there should be enough, but I'll say it anyway. It is a very sweet scent. So if you're not into that, then this would be one that I would not really go for. I would pass on it and instead go for, you know, a lot of the others that we have in here and that we'll continue to talk about, because this is by far the sweetest one that's going to be in this video. Going to be the most out of season right now, but from here on we kind of get more back on track with spring summer oriented. I just think this stuff is a 10 out of 10. You know, you could go for something like Dior Homme Original, which I think is fantastic for spring, early summer, just workwear. You know, you got to think some people work indoors, you know, or sometimes you just go to the store inside. And so if it's 70 degrees, you've got no problem with this. Yeah, it might be hot walking to your car, but, you know, not a huge deal. I think this one could really work pretty much all year around. And obviously the original Dior Homme, that's what this is. It's basically what it smells like. Maybe a couple minor differences, if you could even say that, but, you know, that's kind of what the original was known for. Just an everyday work scent, school scent, whatever you want to call it. Just everyday wear type of thing. That's kind of, I think, probably what they had in mind when they were formulating that one, and I would say that they did an amazing job with it. It's not fresh, though, in the traditional sense. You know, it's not aquatic, it's not citrusy. You know, it's got that iris, a bright, soapy iris with a little bit of a powdery nature underneath and some musk, some light woods. It's not fresh, it's not sweet, it's just kind of a mixture of things, and that's what works so well. And that's why it can be worn any time of the year. I think this DNA is amazing. I'm so glad that they brought it back in this original format, because I would take this over Dior Homme 2020 any day. Not that that's a bad fragrance, but as far as just scent and blend and just what I prefer, it would be this. This is a lot more interesting to me. We're kind of getting down to the end of the video here. These next two are basically going to be summer based. You could wear them anytime just because they are fresh. So hint for you. But summer's going to be when I reach for these the most, and really no other time. Maybe spring, but other than that, summer. Acqua di Gio Profondo. You know, I told you Acqua di Gio Parfum wasn't going to be in here, but I'm so partial to the Acqua di Gio lineup that I've got a few favorites in there for sure. The Parfum would be my #1 favorite. To me, that is a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. And by Parfum, I mean Profumo, but they're basically interchangeable. And then from there, Profondo would be up next easily. And honestly, the list falls pretty short after that. You know, I enjoy the Eau de Parfum. It's not one that I would say is an absolute 10 out of 10 though. but Profondo is really, really unique. The orange, the mineral notes, the sea notes, it's just something different. And that's what I love so much about it. It's just a unique take on the aquatic DNA, which is so common. And this is a great way to stand out in the summertime, which sometimes can be hard to do because a lot of summer fragrances can smell somewhat similar. But I think this one, I wouldn't change a thing about it. I really wouldn't. I think it's amazing. Yeah, they have a Parfum. I like it. I think it's better for nighttime. Still prefer the regular Profondo. And they might kind of do a few more spin-offs of this. I don't know if they can improve this much more than just this original DNA right here. It is wonderful. So bright, so uplifting. It's perfect for summertime. And we're going to end this video with Prada L'Homme L'Eau. 2 iris fragrances in this video? Yeah, maybe, just because not often do you get fresh iris. I mean, yeah, they're out there, original Prada L'Homme, and of course, but you know, a lot of times when you think of iris, you think of Dior Homme Intense, you think of Valentino Uomo Intense, Gentleman Eau de Parfum, Gentleman Eau de Parfum Reserve Privé, Herrera Iris Empire, and so many more. The vast majority of iris releases, at least popular ones, are of the sweeter variety. You've got a few fresher ones, and I like those. Prada L'Homme L'Eau is one of them. This one's got neroli, iris, ginger, and of course powdery notes that they list off. It is powdery, but also it is fresh. It is bright. It's uplifting. It's brighter and fresher than the original Prada L'Homme, as you would probably expect given the name and the fact that it's blue, you know. It's more summer oriented. Now, you could wear the original in summer as well, but this one would probably be my first choice. And I think it's a good thing that a lot of these brands and a lot of these lines will come out with a fresh oriented version. You know, I think that it's nice to have that versatility and to have that option. You know, even if the original is already somewhat fresh, giving you the option to have something even lighter and brighter for people who live in places where it does get really hot, really humid, or maybe they just have their preferences of something really fresh, you know, they can choose that option. And that's why I like this one. I like having it around. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I think these are 10 out of 10, amazing, and maybe they'd be worth checking out. I'll drop them all, links down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.